Hey, everybody. It's the She's the Owner podcast. I'm your host, Karen McCarran, and this is episode 134. And the title of today's episode is What is the Scariest Thing About That? So, if you've listened to previous episodes, the one right before this, we talked about what would your life look like if you didn't do the thing you thought you needed to be doing. And so it's one thing to allow yourself to dream and allow yourself to really like lean into what exactly your life could look like if you followed what you're really about and not what you think you should be doing. It's another thing to start looking at the scary parts of that. And so here's what I mean. Oftentimes when I talk to a woman who is in a position at in a job, or she has a current business that she's not loving, or some of the time she's in an MLM that she's not feeling anymore, she's not aligned with, all there's a whole bunch of different scenarios, but the bottom line is she isn't happy doing what she's doing to earn money. So when we start to, so like I've said a few times, the first part of that is like really just admitting that you're not feeling it, you're not happy, but there's way more to it, right? Like when I started to admit that I wasn't fully fulfilled within the content company, it was like, okay, cool. I probably said that 2 years before I pulled the trigger on what I'm doing now. So, some of the scariest things that came up for me when I was deciding whether or not, now we will tell ourselves it's the money. We will tell ourselves it's I'm a mom. That's irresponsible to start a business and leave my job. We will tell ourselves a whole bunch of like, I call them like soft objections because so I'm just going to take out my earring because it's making noise. Because that's what we're conditioned to do is take out, say the soft objections because that's what everybody else says. Like, oh, I can't do that. I'm a mom. That's shitty. I can't leave my job. Like, I'm a mom. I'm a mom of four. And at one point or another, they've all been financially supported by us. And yeah, they're grown now, but they weren't when we launched the content company. They weren't grown when I launched any of the businesses I started. So that's not really an accurate um objection to like starting to do the thing that you're really called to do. So what's actually happening in my opinion, and again based on my own experience, is that there's a few other things that we will say to hide the real thing. And the real thing for me was not worrying about the kids. Did I worry about where money was going to come from? Yeah. Did I? But when you get into flow and you get into your heart and you start like living from that place, you start to worry a lot less about how money's going to flow to you because you start to realize that. And I say it all the time, when you follow your passion, the money will show up. And it does. It might not show up exactly how you want it to or exactly on time, but it does show up. And consistency is key in any business, but in particular in mission driven businesses, it's for sure key. So, what is it really about? Success. Some of the time, there's a fear of success. That's scary. Why? Because, so for me, and I always like to make sure that I'm not talking out of my ass and I'm sharing with you what's real. And what was real for me. And here's the crazy part. My parents have both passed on and I still had these worries or fears of success. And why did I have that? Because I didn't want to outdo my parents. And I know that sounds insane since they're not here with us on this plane anymore, but the truth is I didn't want to outshine and out earn my parents because I just was conditioned to feel like you just don't do that. Even though any good parent really wants you to outdo them. I want my kids to be richer. I want my kids to be, all the things, like obviously happier, but I'm hopeful that will find that level of happiness that I'm, that I experience. But beyond that, of course, it'd be great if they were happier than I am. But I had a fear of like, or you leaving the friends behind, right? Like a lot of times I'll hear, so women will come to me and they'll be like, I'm having a hard time doing my sales. I don't know what to do, da 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 da. And then we get underneath it, and there's this fear of like having more money than their peers. Well, where does that fear come from? Well, that's a judgmental fear, in my opinion, right? Because first of all, you're assuming that your friends are going to be pissed that you make more money than them. That's the first assumption. But why does that why is that a driving factor for how what your relationship is like? Will it change your relationship if you become financially successful and they don't? Absolutely. But my view on that is like if my friends can't handle my money, then they're not really my friends anyway. And PS, they need some inner mindset work. So maybe that's a good opportunity when they're watching, you earn more money and they're seeing you happier. That's a beautiful, beautiful opportunity for them to say, you know what? I'm kind of interested in, like, you look happier, you're making more money. I'm kind of interested in what it is that you're doing. Not everybody's going to be like, fuck you, you make more money than me. Most people won't. But if those people will organically show themselves the door anyway. So really, you don't need to worry about that. So there's that fear of success because you think you're going to lose the people in your life. And again, I'll reiterate, if you lose those people in your life because you make money, they weren't really, and this goes for family. Like, there's nothing you can do. Like, what are your options? Your options are to stay broke just to stay in their orbit? Come on, right? Like, that's the option. Stay broke to stay in their orbit, or make a shit ton of money, have the greatest life you can imagine, give, 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 and have a blast. Like, those are the two options. I'm picking the second option. If the person doesn't like the fact that I'm making more money than they are, then that's just kind of too bad. There's the fear of failure, right? Always. Like, I have that too, because then ego gets in there. I literally had to pause because I had a yawn come. So, fear of failure, like, I get that too. And again, like, that's all ego, right? That's the ego. If the ego is sitting there going, oh my God, I'm going to fail and everyone's going to make fun of me and I'm going to feel like shit, and da da da, that's ego. The heart doesn't have that. The heart doesn't feel that way. The heart just wants to serve. The heart just wants to give back. The heart just wants to make people happy. So when you're in that zone of fear of failure, like, I always just sort of meet it with gratitude. I'll go into a gratitude prayer. I'll go into some type of way to get myself back connected to my heart where I'm not worrying about failure. Um, Not being able to manage, this is another scary part that I've experienced myself, is I'm not managing my own success. So when we feel that way, like, that's a real thing. I've really felt like, holy shit, like, the responsibility of my success, because as soon as I have team, I have other people working for me now. And that's scary because I have to pay them, right? And so there's, like, that whole thing of the responsibility of success, because me being more successful means that I'm now honoring them and taking care of them in a financial way. So if I'm that, and that can be freaky for some people. But you can just, again, post-it notes are huge in my world. I have post-it notes everywhere. You know, you, quick note that would say something like, I can handle the responsibility of my success. And that's a really good, gentle reminder. And some of you might need a more of a firm reminder. But just remember, of course, you can handle it. The fourth one is boredom. This is something that I have experienced in the past. And so far, I'm not experiencing it in this business. Why? Because it's totally mission driven. Like, how can I be bored there? So, boredom, though, can be a scary thing. Like, here's what it might show up as. I'm super, you've done the business for a year or two and you've hit the numbers you want to hit. And then all of a sudden, bored as shit. If you're bored as shit, that's because it's not mission driven. So it's a realistic fear, but I'm here to tell you that the fear is unwarranted when you are mission driven, because there's always another level I can serve at, right? Like, I'm creating a membership site now. So people who can't come into my accelerator program and pay, the $29.95 to do that, they have the opportunity to go into the membership. So yeah, I mean, and then when I'm done that, I'm going to start my book. And then when I'm done that, I'm going to start the YouTube show. And then when I'm done that, like, when you're mission driven, boredom isn't a thing because you're just obsessed with serving. So couple, I'll go over it really quick. Fear of success, fear of failure, fear of boredom, and then not being able to manage and the responsibility of your success. Those are some of the things that might come up for you when you're like, yes, I want to dream big and I want to do this thing and I want to be all over the place and mission driven. And then, oh my God, holy shit, this stuff freaks me out. So just meet it where it's at, right? Best way around that is start journaling. Why those beliefs are bullshit. Why are those beliefs not going to serve you? How are those beliefs going to mess up the rest of your program? And start writing it out. Because once you write it out, it's sort of, you've decompressed and you've sort of done a mental dump of all the crap that's in there that's not helping. And that's really kind of step 1, like, otherwise it's just gonna keep swimming around inside your head, and nobody wants that. So, that is it for this episode. I hope it was helpful, and, yeah, I will talk to you on the next one. Have a wonderful day. I love you. Bye.